All right, let's talk about something that sounds super complicated but is actually mission critical if your business makes, well, anything. We're talking about equivalent units. It's a key concept in cost accounting, and today we're going to make it simple and break down the two big ways companies figure it out: weighted average versus FIFO. So let me just kick this off with a question for you. Picture this. Your company has 10,000 widgets on the assembly line, and every single one is exactly halfway done. So for your books, how many have you actually made? Is it 10,000? Is it 0? The answer, of course, is somewhere in the middle. And solving that exact problem is why the whole idea of equivalent units was created in the first place. So what's the trick? How do we account for all that work in progress inventory? Well, the answer is a really clever accounting tool called equivalent units. And I know, it sounds a little jargony, but I promise, once this clicks, it's a genuine aha moment. And honestly, the core idea is something you already get. It's just common sense. Just look at this. You've got two cups that are half full. Together, they are the equivalent of one full cup, right? We're just taking that exact same logic and applying it to our unfinished products. Okay, so here's the formal textbook way of saying it. But what does that really mean? It's about taking all the scattered effort you've put into a whole bunch of half-done items and restating it as a single, simple number. The number of whole units you could have made. It's how we create a standard for all that messy, partially completed stuff. And the math behind it? It's super easy. It's literally just one multiplication. You take the number of physical things you're working on and multiply it by how far along they are. So those 10,000 widgets from before, at 50% complete, that's 5,000 equivalent units. See? Simple as that. Okay, so that's the basic idea. But here's where things get a little spicy. How does this work in the real world when you've got work carrying over from last month into this month? Well, accountants use two main methods to handle this: weighted average and FIFO. And the easiest way to think about them is this. One is like a blender, and the other is like a really precise timekeeper. So first up, let's fire up that blender. We're talking about the weighted average method. And just like the name says, it's all about mixing everything together. This method is your best friend if you like to keep things simple. It literally doesn't care if work was started last month or this morning. It takes all the units, all the costs, and just dumps everything into one big smoothie. Work from last period, work from this period. It's all treated as one big group. And because it's so simple, the math is too. It's a two-step deal. First, you take everything you actually finished and moved out the door. Those are 100% done, obviously. Then you just figure out the equivalent units for what's left over at the end of the month. Add those two numbers together, and boom, you're done. And yep, that blender approach goes for the money side too. You take your costs from last month, add in the costs from this month, whir it all up in the blender, and then divide that total by your total equivalent units. What you get is one nice, smooth, average cost for every unit. Okay, so that was the blender. Simple, a little messy, but it gets the job done. Now, let's put that blender away and pull out a stopwatch because we're going to talk about the timekeeper. The first in, first out method, or FIFO. This one's all about precision. See, unlike the blender, FIFO is, well, it's particular. It's a stickler for the rules. It draws a hard line in the sand and says, nope, I only care about the work we did right now, in this specific period. It keeps everything neat and tidy, separating old work from new work. And you can really see that precision in the calculation. This is not a simple two-step like weighted average. Oh no, this is a three-part operation. First, it asks, what work did it take to finish the old stuff from last month? Second, what about the stuff we started and finished completely this month? And third, how far did we get on the new stuff we just started? See, it's way more granular. And the cost calculation follows that same exact logic. It completely ignores the costs from the beginning inventory. It's laser-focused, just the money we spent this period, divided by the work we did this period. No blending, just a crystal clear picture of this month's efficiency. So we have the simple blender on one side and the precise timekeeper on the other. You might be thinking, does it really make that big a difference which one a company chooses? And the answer is a big, resounding yes. This isn't just academic. It has very real consequences for a company's financial statements. You want to know the single biggest difference between them? It all boils down to how they treat the stuff you had lying around from last month. Weighted average just lumps it all together, kind of pretending that old unit was started from scratch today. But FIFO is the realist. It says, no, that thing was already 60% done, so we're only going to count the 40% of work we did on it this month. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Check this out. With weighted average, your costs get smoothed out over time, which is great if you're making a gazillion identical products, like cans of soda. It gives you stability. But FIFO gives you a much more up-to-the-minute current valuation. That's absolutely critical if you're doing custom jobs or making things in batches, where you need to know exactly what this specific run cost you right now. So this leads to a pretty logical question, doesn't it? If FIFO is so much more precise and gives you a truer picture of what's happening today, why on earth would anyone bother with the blender method? The answer is just one word: simplicity. That's it. The weighted average method is just plain easier. You don't have to be a hawk tracking the exact completion percentage of every little thing you started last month. It's less work. And sometimes, for some businesses, good enough and easy beats perfect and complicated. So in the end, that's the trade-off. It's this classic showdown: simplicity versus precision, the blender versus the timekeeper. Is it better to be simple, or is it better to be precise? There's no single right answer for everyone, but what you have to remember is that the method you choose fundamentally defines the story your financial numbers tell the world about your business.